Batman is a billionaire, a figure for justice, and an orphan. And that last one has always haunted him. The thing Batman wants more than anything is to bring his parents back to life. But failing that, he has instead tried to create a new family of his own. Of course, creating a family is one thing, but being a part of that family and raising his children as a good father, well, that is not so easy, and it's a challenge even for the best of us. And while Batman may be trained in every fighting style on the planet, he is not very good at being vulnerable or at being supportive to others.
Are you looking for sympathy?
From you? Heaven forbid.
Now that being said, he is still human and he still feels compassion, just like the rest of us. So he does try where he can. Well, he didn't really used to try, if we're being completely honest, but he's gotten a lot better at it over the years, and he has had his moments where he's been a good father to his children, and we are going to go over 5 of these. Dick Grayson. Now, after the tragic death of Dick Grayson's parents, he was an orphan and on his own, and naturally, Bruce Wayne could relate to this. So he took the boy in, and originally the plan was to keep Grayson out of the Batman side of his life, which is in itself a good fatherly act. Not that it ended up lasting, unfortunately. You see, the one thing that Batman definitely understands is the urge for vengeance, which is why he does his best to keep Grayson away from the man who killed his parents, Tony Zuko. As he has said many times before, he did this to make sure that Dick Grayson didn't end up like him.
I'm sure revenge can be deliciously sweet. However, at the moment, he needs a friend. Isn't that what you needed, sir?
But the part of this that really showed Batman caring about Dick was when he consoled and comforted Grayson after the loss of his parents, something that he is usually incapable of doing.
You keep thinking, if only I'd done something differently. If only I could have warned them. But there isn't anything you could have done.
As I said, Bruce Wayne saw a lot of himself in Grayson's life, and so I think that's why he was able to understand what Grayson was going through and actually empathise with him like a human being, because he still remembered what it felt like to be all alone like that, and so he knew exactly what he needed. The same thing that Bruce Wayne needed way back when. And it's actually very sweet to see him care for Grayson like this, and in a way it's probably very therapeutic, because it would help Batman to address his own trauma. Not necessarily fix it, but it would help him to better understand it, and therefore move away from it. Jason Todd. Now, we all know that Under the Red Hood is the best animated DC film ever made, and it is all about the return of Jason Todd after the Joker had killed him. But in the anniversary edition, called Death in the Family, we get a multi-path movie version where we can decide how the story goes. And one of these stories involves Batman dying instead of Jason Todd. And Jason was actually with him in his final moments. Now, Jason naturally wants to get help, but Batman knows that it's too late for him. He's too injured and they're in the middle of nowhere. And so, as he lays dying, Batman tells Jason that he loves him and to be strong. It's actually one of the closest moments that the two have ever shared.
Protecting Gotham, helping others, healed me. I want that for you, because I love you, son.
And he also makes Jason promise not to kill the Joker. Now, you may think this is just all part of his don't kill principles and part of his mission, but it's not. He's not doing this for himself, and he's not doing it to save the Joker's life. No, he's doing it for Jason. Batman knows that vengeance begets vengeance, violence begets violence, and at the end of the day, it doesn't fix the broken part of you inside. In fact, if anything, it makes it worse. And Batman does not want that for Jason. He wants Jason to be healed and to have peace, the one thing that he can never have. And this is incredible. I mean, Batman is lying on his deathbed, which is in large part due to Jason Todd not listening to him as well, and yet despite all that, Batman is only thinking of Jason. His every word is only about helping his son. And whether or not Jason's actions did lead to this moment is irrelevant, at least to Batman. All that matters to him in this moment is Jason, and he wants nothing but the very best for his son. And this is just an incredibly beautiful and kind sentiment, and I think Batman is being very earnest in this moment. I mean, who bothers to lie when they're on their deathbed? I mean, he's definitely telling him the truth, and it's quite impressive. After all, it's in our final moments that we really show the type of person we are. The people who are cowardly and petty or angry would just go, bloody hell, this is your fault, and I hope you know that. You should have done better. Most of us would like to think that we wouldn't do that at the end, we'd actually be nice, but a lot of people would be dicks in the final moment. It's actually rather surprising. And the fact that he doesn't snap at him or say something snide about the situation is incredible. It really shows the type of character Batman is. I mean, again, we'd all like to think we'd go out nobly, but it's not as easy as films and TV would have us think. You're laying there in agony with the very real knowledge that you're about to die. It really shatters your world. And yet Batman is going out with the temperament that we all hope we're going to go out with. Not being petty or selfish or anything like that, but trying to help those who mean the most to him. And although it did take his death for him to truly open up to Jason, this is very likely the closest moment the two of them ever had. Although I do think I should say, since this is a multi-part film, the viewer can still decide to go and kill the Joker and get revenge if they want. And personally, I chose to kill the Joker every time. I do love revenge.
Without the Dark Knight going 99 forever, you wouldn't be the fine, upstanding, eyes open, gun-toting, psychopathic survivor you are today.
Cassandra Kane. Now, Cassandra was adopted by Batman and became his only daughter in main continuity. But biologically, she is the child of Lady Shiva and David Kane, both of whom are assassins and warriors, and she was raised to be the ultimate warrior, much in the same way that Ra's al Ghul raised Damian Wayne. Except with her, the methods were even more brutal. Cassandra was deprived of speech and human contact and never taught to read or write. In fact, in some continuities, her vocal cords were even removed. And all of this was so that the only language she would ever truly understand would be physical, allowing her to read her opponent's body movements like no one else on the planet ever could. And this actually does have a bit of a basis in logic. You see, quite a lot of the human brain is dedicated to language and social skills. In fact, a lot of kids with photographic memories lose that ability as they age, and their brain rewrites itself so they can better interact with others. Of course, as we all know, that is actually a more useful tool to survive, which is why our brains do it. But still, these people obviously said, what if we just warped this child so that she became the ultimate weapon? Very messed up. But anyway, instead of social skills and speech, those parts of her brain go towards fighting ability, analytical skills, and pattern recognition, which means she is a practically unparalleled fighter, but does have very poor social skills. Now eventually she decided to leave her abusive parents, the smartest thing she ever did, and she actually found her way to the Bat family and came to live with them, and even work with them using the codename Orphan. Then later she became Batgirl, and later still she became the Black Bat, though they use different names for her in different continuities, of course. But needless to say, her childhood was filled with abuse, training, and nothing else. There was no joy or celebration at all, which meant that Orphan had never had a birthday, or even received a birthday gift, or probably any gifts at all for that matter, other than knives and swords. So she and Barbara Gordon were thinking of using the anniversary of when she became Batgirl as her birthday, since she didn't know the actual date, of course, because, like I said, she's never had a birthday before. And so Batman made it official by buying her first birthday present ever. Though unfortunately we don't actually see what this present is. And Batman did this both as something kind to do, but also to help her become better adjusted and able to interact with others. It may seem simple, but getting a present like this can actually help you to understand people. And while this act would be a very, very small thing to most people, to Cassandra this was actually an incredibly caring moment. And it probably meant more to her than she even knew herself, let alone would be able to convey to others. I mean, when a person has undergone such extreme abuse and trauma, these gestures of kindness like this can change their entire world in an instance. Again, I know it seems small, but if you've gone through such hardship, it would be world-changing, it really would. And most people will never be able to understand how simply being treated like a human being for just a few minutes, or even just a few moments, can mean so much. And it was just an amazingly kind and sweet gesture from her new father. Damian Wayne. Now, most of the children in Batman's life are adopted. Damian is actually his only blood son in the main continuity, though he does have a few daughters and others who are actually blood relatives, but in the main continuity it is just Damian. But the funny thing is that Bruce actually finds Damian to be the most difficult to deal with. Now this may be because he's a blood son and it's just the Wayne family stubbornness shining through, but there is also the trauma that Damian faced growing up in the League of Shadows.
First time I climbed, I fell. Broke my wrist. I made it to the top anyway. It was expected. I was Ra's al Ghul's grandson.
But despite this distance between them, there are actually many times when Batman has tried to connect with Damian on an emotional level. Now, one of my favourites is in the Batman vs Robin film, and the whole film is basically the two of them being at each other's throats, but there are two moments that are very sweet. The first one I have actually mentioned before, and it's near the beginning of the film, when Bruce finds Damian asleep on the couch and discovers that he is reading through Dickens, And the two bond over the fact that Bruce Wayne actually read through Dickens at the very same age, and they do have similar tastes outside of fighting and vigilantism. And then the two of them watch a movie together. Simple, I know, but a good father-son moment doesn't need to be complex, it just needs to be a good father-son moment. Although despite how sweet this moment is, they do quickly go back to arguing with one another.
I thought we were making some progress.
You show me a movie, and that gives you permission to keep me a prisoner in my own house?
And the second moment is towards the end of the film, after the two have been through a huge ordeal and bonded a bit because of it. And because of this, Batman actually tells Damian that he is proud of him.
I'm proud of you.
And that is not something the Batman says often. Many of his children never even get that in their lifetimes. And it is the highest of praise coming from Batman. After all, he doesn't dole out compliments often. He doesn't just do it as a pleasantry like, "Oh, I'm proud of you, son, well done." No, he never says this. This is a very high caliber compliment that he reserves for the most esteemed of moments. But the one good thing about this is that when he does give you that compliment, when he does say that he is proud of you, you do at least know that it's genuine and that he really, really means it.
He's a 10-year-old boy.
No, he just looks like one. There's not another child on Earth like Damian Wayne.
And of course there are many other moments. There's the fact that Batman helped to foster a friendship between John Kent and Damian Wayne. He's trying to give him the chance to have a friend like a normal child would, or at least as normal as they can manage in the superhero community. And it does work out, as the two do end up becoming friends. In fact, in the comics, they even form a band together at one point. And Damian even goes to John Kent's baseball games to cheer him on.
Hit it like it's an extraterrestrial parasitic monster!
And to hang out with him after. And unlike the other Robins, Damian is actually allowed to have pets. He has both a bat cow that he saved from becoming food at one point, and Goliath, a dragon bat, who is the very last of his kind since Damian Wayne killed the rest of his family under orders from Ra's al Ghul during his bloodier days. There's also Titus the dog, Alfred the cat, Wiggles the dragon, and Jerry the turkey. Of course, the one that sticks in the memory more will always be the bat cow.
You have to milk it. It's a cow. Listen, I can milk her, dude. It's fine. It's no problem. Over my dead body!
Terry McInness. Now, as most fans now know, it was always the series creators' intention to reveal that Terry McInness was actually Bruce Wayne's biological son. Though since the show was cancelled before they got this out there, it was all cleared up in an episode of Justice League Unlimited.
My point is, I just found out that Warren McInness isn't my father. You are.
Now, despite that being canon, Bruce didn't actually know this, and neither did Terry at the beginning. And Bruce did not really care much about Terry to begin with. In fact, he even paralysed the Batsuit while Terry was fighting some guards, who then beat the living hell out of him. And Bruce didn't care. In fact, he only let him move again because they were going to kill him, and he didn't want that blood on his hands. I guess it was too much at that point. Now, in fairness, Terry did steal the Batsuit, so Bruce was probably very angry about that. But later, once Bruce has calmed down, he actually realised that Terry could be the next Batman, and thus the show was born. And as time went on, Bruce not only came to care for Terry, but he thought of him as his very own son, which technically it was later revealed he was. But even before that, he still cared about him. And Bruce showed this in many ways. First of all, just by letting him wear the Batsuit in the first place, which is in itself quite a high honour, but also in the way he treated him in the day-to-day. He actually cut him a lot more slack than he ever gave his other sidekicks. For example, when Terry developed feelings for a criminal, and the two of them kinda sorta even started dating, well, Bruce could have been very judgmental about this. Although in fairness, if anyone can understand dating a villain, it is Bruce Wayne. All his best girlfriends were supervillains after all. But instead of lecturing him and being judgmental, Bruce was actually understanding.
This kind of thing ever happened to you?
Let me tell you about a woman named Selina Kyle.
Now, this is probably their closest bonding moment, sure, but there are actually several other small moments where Bruce Wayne did show that he cared, such as when Terry's friend gets out of prison and he asks Bruce Wayne to give him a job. Now, Bruce doesn't trust him since he just spent 3 years in prison and he doesn't want to do it, but he agrees to for Terry. Though Bruce does keep tabs on him after this, and it turns out he's lying and he's planning to steal from them, but even after that, Bruce doesn't give Terry any lectures or any judgments over it. He's actually quite understanding. Although, considering how upset Terry was, it probably wasn't necessary. But still, it's not like Bruce to not give a lecture, you know what I mean? He usually jumps on it full throttle to put one of his sidekicks in his place. But this time, he doesn't, and it happens quite a lot throughout the Batman Beyond show. And in the Batman Beyond film, he also tried to protect Terry by stopping him from being Batman altogether, because he was scared the Joker would hurt him, as the Joker knew Bruce Wayne was Batman and therefore could easily work out that Terry was the new Batman. Unfortunately, this turned out to be too little too late, as the Joker had already worked out who Terry was, and he even sent his goons to attack him. But it's the thought that counts. Bruce Wayne could have easily said, nah, just keep being Batman, I'm sure it's fine, put your family in danger. But instead, he turned it around to keep him safe, because he cares about him. And he even trusts Terry to make his own decisions, which may not sound like a big deal, but he doesn't really let his other sidekicks make their own decisions. One such moment was when he let Terry decide for himself whether or not he wanted to be in the Justice League.
Time has come, Bruce. What do you say?
Well, I don't think it's my decision to make.
Again, something he would not have given his other sidekicks so easily. I mean, he just offers this up with no arm twisting at all. And that is a lot more freedom than he usually allows a sidekick. He generally likes to keep them under his control.
But have you noticed your little Illuminati society is made up entirely of former protégés? Protégés accustomed to following your orders without question.
And of course there are other Batman Beyond moments, but those are the only ones I'm going to list in this video. But if there are any others that you know of and think should be mentioned, then feel free to let us know in the comments. And those are 5 times when Batman was a good father. Now personally I like all of these, but I think there is something special about the one with Jason Todd. You see, Batman and Jason don't really share many caring moments. Unfortunately, the two of them always had a bit of a distance, and of course Jason died quite a long time ago, so he's actually spent the least amount of time with him in continuity. And so I think it gives it a little more weight to him trying to help and save Jason one last time, especially since he's doing it with his dying breath. But which one of these is your favourite moment? And are there any others that you think should have been included? Be sure to let us know in the comments. And I'd just like to quickly remind everyone that we have some merchandise available on our store, and to say thanks to all of you who have donated to the Needle Mouse Productions page on Patreon. And as always, thanks for watching, and feel free to subscribe, share, like, and comment.